Hi, everyone. Today, our guest is Danielle Little, the co-founder and COO for almost 5 years of Link My Books. Today, we're going to talk about practical tips for bookkeeping. So we will talk about things that you actually can do in order to, or preparing for acquisition or increase um, and prepare to have a better information about your business. Let's start with the first, practical question. And I think it's really important for our audience to hear. Not everyone knows that, why bookkeeping is so important.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Gal. Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be here. So I think maybe first of all, I'll take a step back and just say a little bit about who I am in terms of why you should be listening to me, because obviously I'm just some random guy here on the screen here. So between 2014 and 2018, I built up and scaled two Amazon FBA businesses, and then I sold those for 6 and 7 figures. During the time running the Amazon businesses, I focused really heavily on like scalability. And I realized through running the first business, where I launched about 6 products in the first 2 years, it was really slow and cash flow was always a problem, that scalability and automation was the key to being able to build the second business quicker. And the second business, I launched 25 products in the same 2-year period. So obviously what I learned worked. In 2018, I actually teamed up with another seller and 5 e-commerce accountants, and we started Link My Books. And so we basically help e-commerce sellers to account for their sales figures totally accurately. And we've now got about 8,000 people using the software. So that's a little bit about me and why you should be listening. So the question was, why is it so important to have accurate accounting? And I suppose the way to flip it on its head there is to say that inaccurate accounting is like running your business in the dark, effectively. So it can lead to you focusing on the wrong marketplaces. It can lead to poor cash flow, restricted growth, or even worse, overpaying or underpaying taxes in general. Whereas with accurate accounting, you can make better, well-informed decisions about how to run your business.
Nice. Thank you for that and for the introduction. So listen to Danielle, what you say, why it's important. The second question is, what advice you can give for e-commerce sellers managing their bookkeeping?
Yes, what advice? Well, I think the number one advice would be it's 2023. Like, gone are the days where you should be doing this in a spreadsheet or even getting someone else to do it in a spreadsheet, like your accountant or your bookkeeper. You should be using software. And I know that I'm sort of biased because obviously I run a software company and that's exactly what we do. But at the end of the day, it boils down to people make mistakes. So there's sort of 3 major areas that we see people making mistakes. And as I say, we've worked with about 8,000 sellers now, so we've seen them time and time again. And I'll go through a little bit about each of the types of mistake and why it's important. And that'll sort of like reinforce why you should be using software like Link My Books to automate your accounting and not doing it manually. So the first area is people use the wrong data. So they use, like, the sellers tend to use monthly reports. So they'll go into either Amazon or eBay or Shopify or Etsy or wherever they're selling, and they'll just download a monthly summary report for the sales for that month. And they'll just assume that that's it, I'm done. I can just put that straight into my bookkeeping system and I'm good now. But the problem with that is it doesn't contain anywhere near the level of detail that you need in order to have accurate accounts. So it doesn't contain, for example, the destination countries for all the goods, where they've actually been shipped to. It doesn't contain the taxes that have been applied. It doesn't contain who's responsible for the taxes, because after January 2021, especially for a UK seller, or if you're in the US and you've got sales tax, then Amazon could be collecting that on your behalf. So those things just aren't included in the summary reports. And so the other thing is that they don't line up with deposits into the bank. So if you take a monthly report of all your sales, and then the sales channel is paying you out every 2 weeks, then how do you get those things to reconcile? And it becomes that people use control accounts, or they just have a running balance that just sort of sits there and they never really know whether it's accurate or not. And then the worst thing I see is when people do little adjustments and they put in these things in their bookkeeping called Amazon adjustment. And it's just so they can get the figures to balance because it isn't accurate. They haven't been able to make it accurate, so they just put an adjustment in to make it accurate, and it's awful. And what this can result in is inaccurate accounts, which leads to you paying too much or too little tax or VAT. So that's obviously not a good position to be in. So that's number one, is using the wrong data. Number two is human error. So people make mistakes. So software follows logic. It always does the same thing. It's predictable. It uses the same data set every time. It's accurate. But a human, you're doing multiple steps. You're downloading all the data from the sales channel. You're putting it into a spreadsheet. You're dragging down formulas. You're copying and pasting information. Or you just miss one step out of a 20-step process, and now you've got the wrong information. And it's the same problem here. You end up with inaccurate accounts. You pay too much tax, or you can pay too little tax and end up with penalties later on. So that's the second reason, the making human errors. The third reason is just wasting your time in general. Like, again, we're in 2023 now. There's so many things out there that are so much cleverer than us human beings, like AI, for example. I know it's early days, but the idea here is that you can outsource things, you can automate things in order to run your business more effectively. You can focus on the things that you're good at, and then you can let software and outsourcing do the rest. And so on average, what we found is that sellers, before they used Link My Books, they were spending on average 6 hours per month doing their bookkeeping. They were downloading reports from the sales channels, putting them through Excel, as I said, exporting the data into their bookkeeping system, and then trying to get it all to reconcile. And so you end up with, you're spending so much time doing that, and you've just wasted almost a whole day of your working month, where there's only 21 per month. And now you could have been doing that on finding new products, making better adverts, improving your images. There's so many other things that you could do that are going to grow your business rather than just looking in the rearview mirror. And so I think that that's where software can come in, is that it can give you a much greater accuracy and save you 6 hours per month. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. And we're working in the same space, at Boost. We also getting financial information and show them what's your 12 months back, even 2 years back of financial estimation. So we definitely understand what you're saying. And I think from what I'm hearing, you're spending a lot of time. Time is really important, especially for entrepreneurs running their business, and money. People spend a lot of, they can have much more money and they don't even know that, because of they don't know how to keep, the booking accurate. The other thing that we see, that they can actually increase their value of their business or improve things if they know how the last 12 months even look like. If you don't know the numbers, it's really hard to project for the future. So definitely. And one of the questions that we're getting a lot from customers, especially talk about new softwares and automated your bookkeeping, is, do I still need accountant these days? I'm on board using tools, using your software. I spent less time doing that. I'm not even using Excel sheet, but do I still need in-house accountant for it, or I can completely do it myself?
That is a tricky question. I think that I would always recommend having an accountant, but the question should maybe be more about, what do you get your accountant to do? So having an accountant, 100%, because they can help you to make sure that you claim all the right tax reliefs. They can file your end of year accounts. They can do your corporation tax or like sales tax side of things. They can file all the filings and they can make sure they're accurate. They can put the rubber stamp on it, so to speak. But that's just one part of what accountants do. I think the other part is that they can provide genuine value-added services. So they can help you, they can connect you with people who can lend you money. They can help you to think of ways to improve your cash flow. They can do so many extra things than just putting data into Xero or QuickBooks. And that's what we talk about quite often, is that what we find when we work with e-commerce accountants is that they're spending 70% of their time getting the data from the client and from the sales channel and manipulating it through Excel and then putting it into the bookkeeping system. And then they're spending 30% of their time actually doing the analysis on that and providing value to the client. And what we want to do is we basically want to flip that on its head and say, listen, we can get the data into Xero and QuickBooks without you even lifting a finger. We'll do that totally automatically. And then you can focus 100% of your time in providing extra value to the clients. And what we find is that accountants especially who use our software, they end up being able to service so many more clients at the same time, spending less time doing what they were doing before.
Wow.
So instead of spending hours on end getting the information into the bookkeeping system, they can now have 10 times as many clients and provide much better value added services to them. So I suppose the answer is yes, I would still have an accountant.
It sounds like the accountant will probably in the future will be like a small CFO for a business, especially if it's a small business, not a lot of employees. They can be a great, value creators instead of just like getting all this data, do all these like not accurate in like data gathering information. They can actually give you value if you give them the data and use the right tools. So I can understand what you're saying.
It's funny actually, because we work with some accountants who one of the services that they have is a virtual CFO or a virtual financial director. And it's exactly that.
Nice.
It's taking the accountant away from being a data entry clerk and getting information and just slapping it into Xero to truly adding value to the clients and being able to give them financial advice on how to run their business using that information. So yeah, I 100% agree. I think that's the way it's going, is like automate the part that can be automated and then gain extra value from your accountant. Don't get rid of them because you still need them.
Nice. I love it. I want to see more accountants being the CFO of companies. I think it will be great, especially for the customers. Next question, also like related to you, because you sold your Amazon FBA businesses and it's the connection for bookkeeping. It's important. Not a lot of people understand, I think, the connection between finance, bookkeeping, and future exit. And my question for you is, how do you think the right bookkeeping, accurate bookkeeping, can potentially help for a customer like future exit for selling your business in the future?
100%. This is something that comes up.
Can it help?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I think this is something that comes up quite often for us, is that we have a lot of clients who come to us where they've been doing cash-based accounting previously and they're looking to sell their business, and now all of the buyers they're speaking to or the brokers they're speaking to, they want it all in accrual basis, which most good buyers will, because it's the only way to really truly forecast future and stuff like that. And so that's where they'll come to us and then they'll say, okay, can you convert all of my bookkeeping into accrual basis? And so, yes, we can then go back and we can pull all the data from the sales channels and redo all of their accounts in their Xero. They'll normally set up a new Xero account and they'll push it all through into accrual basis. So I think part of it is, first of all, thinking about having your accounts in the right format. So using accrual format bookkeeping rather than cash basis accounting. But I think the general advantage of having accurate accounts is that it's going to make it so much easier when you do come to exit your business. Like, speaking from personal experience, when I ran my first Amazon FBA business, the bookkeeping probably wasn't as great as it could be, if I'm completely honest. And so when I came to then, I was working with a company called Empire Flippers back in the day, and they sort of were preparing the business for sale. And it took a long time for them to basically have to redo the entire accounts. They had to hook up to, in fact, I think at that time I had to download loads of information from Amazon for them because they didn't have a direct connection. And then they like redid all of the bookkeeping and put it into an accrual format. And then we had to put all of our extra expenses in. So it was like we spent months going through it to get it to the point where it was ready to then finally be listed for sale. And so when I started the second business, I had that in the back of my mind. And I was like, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to make sure that it's totally in the right format this time. So then from then on, I used everything correctly. And I think that's maybe where the seed was planted about the idea for Link My Books. Was like, this took so much time. It was so tedious. It was so repetitive. You must be able to build a software that can pull all this information automatically and push it into the right places in the right format. So yeah, I would say it's definitely a good thing to have the right data accurate for selling your business in the future.
Amazing. And I love to hear your idea, like how you created it. Like, my book sounds like from, your own personal experience, and now we heard it. So everybody you can know, the audience can know. We have a few seconds, almost a minute. So the last question, it's a bit different than what we talk about, but thank you so much for your advice about bookkeeping and your exit your business. So my question, the last one, I'll give you $1 million today. What you will do with that?
Spend it on acquiring more customers. I think that we at Link My Books, we have a pretty good cost per acquisition on acquiring a new customer. And I think that if you had an extra million in the bank, then you could just throw that into acquiring more customers. Because at the end of the day, I think, I can't remember who said it, but it might be the guy from Digital Marketer said, the way to winning in business is being able to spend the most amount of money to acquire a new customer. You can crush your competition by doing that effectively. So yeah, if I had $1 million or unlimited supply of money, then I would just spend more money acquiring customers, I suppose, to get more customers, the value of software.
And if it was just for you,
If it
not
was
business
just
related?
me,
Yeah.
that is tricky. Um, I don't know.
No wrong
I
answers.
think I obviously sold two businesses and 6 and 7
True.
figures. I've been in that position and had that money, so I think it didn't really change me, if I'm honest. Like I like my cars. I like going away with the family on holiday. So I think all that happened was the cars got more expensive and the holidays got more expensive. So yeah, if I think I had another million in the bank, then it would just be even more expensive cars and more expensive holidays. So I know
I love it.
the right answer is I would invest it in property and I would invest it in shares, but I'm not that type of person. I like focusing on building businesses, scaling them up, and spending the money along the way.
Nice. I love it. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's go to Link My Books and understand how they can help us with bookkeeping. Thank you so much for your advice.